You're listening to the DTF podcast, Down to Fitness, where we turn personal trainers into fitness professionals. We're your hosts, Dayton McPherson and Kyle Radoon. Kyle, are you ready to start talking about exercise today instead of all the sales stuff that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks or
I'm
months?
so excited to talk about fitness, man. I want to work out. Let's talk about it.
And I don't want to work out, so that's why I always like the sales stuff a little bit more than Kyle. But today we are doing Exercise Programming 102, a little bit deeper dive. We did have an episode 101 that came out a few months ago, just very, very basic stuff. So we're going to review that very quickly. And then we'll start talking about some other things in terms of exercising and trying to get your clients those results. So Kyle, did you want to kind of summarize what we talked about in, that first episode 101?
Yeah, for sure. So, and if you couldn't tell already, the two big differences between us for sure is Dayton is definitely the sales business guy. And
Yeah.
I really, really love exercise. I love programming. I love working with the clients. I love doing all the nitty gritty, personal trainer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't love, I shouldn't say that. I love the business side of things. I love running my own business. I love all that, but it pales in comparison to the actual exercise and the sweat part of what we do. So one of our most popular episodes was Programming 101. And it was very much a 101 rudimentary episode. We talked about if you needed to warm up or have cool downs for your clients. We talked about the importance of training compound movements or how not important they might be, right?
Yeah.
How important is the back squat? Are we doing regressions or progressions to get us to those movements? Are we mostly built around those compound movements? Talked a lot about that. We talked a lot about regressions, getting people started, teaching proper movement and body weight and bands. What else did we touch on?
I think that was kind of it. I mean, it was very rudimentary stuff that we talked about, like getting somebody started off really and what we tend to do and how to progress them. But we didn't dive into macro cycles and mesocycles and, hypertrophy, strength, all that good stuff. So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, for sure. Because really, if you have trained clients for more than, 9 months, at some point they are going to get better. They get stronger. They have a pretty good looking squat. You finally got a barbell in their hands and they're doing deadlifts and they're doing overhead presses and their shoulders are healthy and their knees are healthy and they don't have back pain anymore. Now what?
Right.
You got them into relatively healthy. They're functional adults, assuming you're not training an athlete, which today probably go into a little bit more of what it's like to train an athlete. But 101 was very Gen Pop.
Yeah.
What happens when you take your client from Gen Pop? Now they can play with their kids. They can get down on the ground. They can crawl around. They can put their kid up in the air over their head. What does training look like now?
Right. It's going from 3 sets of 10 to what now? Right? Isn't that typically what we start off everybody at, is 3 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 12? And that's great to begin, but after a while your body's going to get used to that, and then we have to progress them into that strength, hypertrophy. That word always makes me trip up. Power, speed, all that good stuff.
That's okay. Some of the best trainers in the space still say hypertrophy. So
hypertrophy.
I've stopped picking on people for pronouncing it wrong because enough good trainers can't say the word. So I'm all right, I'll come off my high horse now.
Yeah. So did you want to touch on that, like the phasing first and strength, hypertrophy, endurance, power, speed, and kind of what those look like?
Yeah. So I love that you mentioned the periodization stuff, because while it's super important, I think it's overstated in a lot of people's CPT books. So this is a good place to start, because I'm actually going to knock it a little bit.
Okay.
Great programmers, we do this naturally, but I don't think a lot of people really sit down and try to break out exactly what that year looks like. Because any good trainer knows when you program more than a month in advance, the program starts to fall apart and you start to change it anyways. Right. So basically, when we talk about periodization, we're looking at macro cycles, which are generally the big cycles. Those are months long. Within those months, you have mesocycles, which are usually shorter, 4 or 6 weeks. These are usually, when I do my programming, I call these phases of my program.
Yeah.
For me, they're 4 to 6 weeks. Studies show the average person gets adapted to a workout about 4 to 6 weeks. So when I program, I actually use 4 weeks as my sweet spot number.
Yep.
But they say you can get just as much effectiveness out of 6 weeks. When I'm working with clients, I like the 4 weeks because it gets them to change to something new sooner. And from a sales perspective, if I change the workouts every 28 days, they're really excited for their next building cycle. So it's also a retention tool.
Yep. That's true.
Okay. So I do like to keep changing it because they keep looking forward to what's going to change and what's coming next.
Yep.
And then within that, you have your week to week, your workout to workout type styles. Those might be your leg day or your upper lower or your core day or arm day or whatever you're doing, right? Yep. So that's how I break it down. But I don't want to spend too much time on that because I don't think it matters as much. Big goal, weight loss. Okay, well, we're going to try to lose weight. How are we going to try to lose weight? Let's break it up into a couple cycles. I know I want to build strength. How do I get you to building strength the way I want you to be able to? To me, building strength is like a 5x5 deadlift, 5 rep max, 6 rep max, heavy weights.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that in your first 6 weeks. So now I want to reverse engineer that to what exercises do I need that are going to lead you into being able to deadlift so that we can teach you the deadlift so that we can then progress the deadlift to the 5x5, right? So now in my first cycle, my first phase is really just teaching you how to deadlift, building up the hamstrings, the glutes, strengthening your core, a lot of single leg exercises in the beginning because most people have really big imbalances from left to right. Most people have stronger quads than they do hamstrings. They sit on their butt all day. So I'm going to work on the muscle groups using machines, maybe bands, things that people haven't done before, build up those muscle groups so that the first time on a deadlift, they're already going to be a little more successful.
So just to clarify, that 5x5 that you were talking about with strength, you're not doing that in the beginning. Okay.
No.
All right, good. Okay.
That's my goal.
All right.
Is to get them to do
so
a 5x5.
we're on the same page. So if you've got someone that's doing weight loss, like what do you typically start them off with like sets and reps? Is it 4 sets of 10, like 5 sets of whatever? Like what are you doing typically?
So I really like when you made the joke about 3x10. I think that is the sweet spot. And if you've been in the industry long enough, 3 sets of 10 started out being like where everyone should start. If you actually go back to the creator of Nautilus, I want to say Nautilus. Anyways, never mind. I can't remember the story off the top of my head. Old school, right? 3 sets of 10. Over the years, physical therapists and like really educated people in the space were like, no, it's too standardized. You need to be a little more specific. 8 reps, 10 reps, 12 reps, 3 sets, 4 sets. And now 15 years later, guess what happened? We all came back, walk into any physical therapy office in 2023, 3 sets of 10. So yeah, 3 sets of 10 is now my official answer for everyone starting off.
And I can't remember where I read this, but it's from a study, like the 3 sets of 10 from like the 50s.
I wanted to tell that story, but I can't remember it.
Yeah, I can't remember it either, which is really sad because it's something that I do in programming for health tracks. But yeah, it's from a long time ago. So anyways, so I'm going to build up that strength. Now, 101, we talked about how to build up that strength. So I don't want to necessarily dive into that. My assumption here is you've already been training for a year. You can do all the major movements, but now what? Right. And this is where I think a lot of trainers start to get stale in their programming because they've done pretty much the straight sets. They did 3x10 for a while. Then they increased the volume to 4x10 and then 4x12. Maybe they worked into some really high rep, high volume stuff at 4 sets of 15 or 3 sets of 20. What happens now? It's going to get stale. It's going to get boring. And this is where now in the advanced area, I want to start messing with my rep schemes. I want to start working on maybe the bodybuilder side of things. I want to start working on eccentrics, slow negatives. I want to do pause reps. I want to do, stuff like that. Because now once you've understood the motion, and you can make an argument for slow eccentrics as a good way to actually teach movements in the beginning, because that slow negative, you can really control it down and it helps teach the movement. But it is very much an advanced technique because
it will destroy your muscles, right? So adding advanced techniques, say we're doing a bench press, and we always get stuck at a certain point of a bench press, usually just off the chest. You start to push off the chest, you get stuck.
Yep.
Well, just now training more bench press, 5x5 this week, 6x3 next week, eventually you're going to plateau. And how do we break through these plateaus? This is where I would incorporate something on a bench press, like a pin press. I'm going to start the bar 1 inch off my chest, and I'm going to start it at the hardest part and just work that motion. We break down the movement to find the weaknesses to keep progressing you further. So, rep manipulations becomes a huge part of that. Right?
Yep.
I mean, a little rant there.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I know what you mean. So, I mean, it's basically, where does everybody want to be? And we all start off with, oh, all my clients are going to be doing barbell back squats and barbell deadlifts and all that good stuff. And not everybody will always get there. I don't have most of my clients do barbell back squats. The safety squat bars, kettlebells, and things like that are going to be better for them. And each person has to be different. Like you were saying, Kyle, like feel that burn and do eccentrics. We're going to do isolation exercises. Are we going to do speed, like kettlebell swings and box jumps and things like that? If it's not important for their goals, then why are you doing it? Just because it looks cool? Maybe, but you don't need to do box jumps if no one is an athlete, really. They may want to do it, but is it a part of their program every single week? Maybe not.
Well, and now I love that you mentioned like the athlete in jumping, because we didn't really talk about power or speed or agility. I don't do any plyometrics with clients in the beginning, but now that you've built strength, okay, now it's safe to start working up maybe to a box jump.
Right.
But how are we going to work that in? I want to clarify. I don't mean in CrossFit, we're not going to do 50 box jumps 4 times. When we train speed, power, explosiveness, we are talking 1 rep max box jump. We are talking you jump on a box, step down, rest until you are fully recovered, 2, 3, 4 minutes, and then do it again. That like pogo stick jump down, jump up thing is not power. That's conditioning. Go for a jog.
Right.
That's the same thing, right?
Yep.
So we're training athletes. We need to treat power like it's a 1 rep max deadlift. Right. So, because now, you mentioned that. What other styles of training do we have? We mentioned strength. We mentioned hypertrophy. I don't talk about cardio a lot because I'm not a cardio guy, but you do have like strength endurance, which I think of more like the running. Like, can we produce enough strength to push my body forward 1 million times to run, a marathon or whatever?
Yeah.
But then you think about athletics, power, speed, agility. I understand
power, speed, agility. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Covers the most ones, right? So you're athletes. So now when I'm training that, I'm giving the long rest periods, explosive, power, move on. Cool.
Right.
So we've covered strength, we cover, athletic, and then bodybuilding really is that I started talking about the rep schemes. When you are training for weightlifting or strength training versus training for aesthetics, I think this is one huge topic that maybe we don't all understand. And trainers might, but the general population definitely does not. So when I'm training for strength, my goal is to lift as much weight as possible. I am getting the best leverage that my body can. If I am in a deadlift, I'm really digging my heels down. I'm pulling my shoulders back. I'm taking a big breath. I'm using my whole body. I'm gripping the hell out of the bar. And anything I can do to get that bar up. And if you watch a powerlifting meet, they're going to be shaking like crazy. They're going to be, the eyes are popping out of their head. Average person would say that like your form broke down and it didn't look very good. And
whatever.
Right. Because they don't care about how it feels. They care about how to get the weight off the ground, lock a rep out.
Right. And with that being said, doing 1 rep maxes for Gen Pop is not my recommendation. Like, you don't have to have somebody shaking and blood coming out of their eyes and nose. And you've seen videos of people throwing up as they're doing 1 rep maxes and stuff. Like, I don't need that for my clients. What I understand that for those people like the power lifters, there is a point to it. You're competing in something. Like, we're not trying to injure you or have you do any of those things if you're just coming in to lose some weight and feel better. So I think that doing the 1 rep maxes, at least for me, it doesn't serve a point with Gen Pop.
No.
I think the highest that I'll go, or sorry, the lowest that I'll go is like a 4 or 3 rep max. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, really long time people, I'll do doubles maybe. But
Yeah,
definitely not much more than that.
right. Yep.
Usually with a good, strong client, if they can pull it off the ground once, if you can do like touch and go, they'll usually get that second one. And to me, that is like my 1 rep max equivalent, because you go a little heavier, they probably don't get the first one off the ground. So then that's when you're starting to split hairs.
Right.
But again, doesn't really matter. For Gen Pop though, and this is kind of why I went the bodybuilding route, is for Gen Pop, bodybuilding is actually more of what we are doing with our clients. Even if we, people hear bodybuilding as a sport and think like, Speedos on a stage, but it's not. It's building our body. It's sculpting the body that we want. Every single client that came into your consultation asked you for bodybuilding. Right. They told you that they didn't like that little flabby part on the back of their arms. They squeezed their love handles, right? They pointed out the physical aspects of these things. So when we're talking hypertrophy and aesthetics, we're not talking about how much weight you can lift. It's not about leverage. It's about feeling the muscle burn and contract and squeeze, and how we can kind of manipulate that. So cool thing about bodybuilding for the general population is I can almost guarantee no injury risk here. Yeah. I can take you through a bench press workout with an empty barbell and a PVC pipe and make you not be able to touch the top of your head for a week. Because if you really manipulate the pause reps and slow negatives, I mean, right? Example of a bodybuilding like bench press. Maybe my first set is 25 reps with the empty barbell. If you do anything that many times, you get so much blood, you pump it up. Have you ever watched Pumping Iron?
Yeah, of course.
Old school, right? Anytime I talk about the pump, I always think of the famous Arnold quote that pumping is like coming. My favorite line of Pumping Iron.
Oh God.
I'm gonna actually go back and we're gonna add the little clip in here.
Yeah, you're gonna add the clip in there. Nice.
No, in all seriousness, it's that feeling of the blood coming in, the muscle coming in, water coming into the muscle, and just pumping it, get really nice and tight. That's how we build muscle, and we don't need a lot of weight in high risk to do it. Is basically where I'm going with that.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me. Yeah, I just don't see the point with doing low reps with people. If they want to feel that muscle, and we've talked about this before, that so often people associate a good workout with being sore or not being able to move. And no, that's not the definition of a good workout. But if you can really try to have them feel the muscle, which I think is probably the hardest part of being a coach, is anytime that someone does an exercise, where did you feel that? What did you feel? And God help me if I hear another person say, I don't know. You have to feel something, whether it be pain or, the muscle working or joint. Like, I need you to talk to me so that we can determine if this is a good weight, not a good exercise, or if we have to change the modality. Like, the communication is key when we're trying to build programs. So
absolutely.
Always ask people, what do you feel?
Yes. So I always ask that, and you're right. They say things like, I don't feel it. We talk about you can do a deadlift and not feel your butt or hamstrings at all for a lot of people. So in that situation, this is where we take some advanced techniques. How do we make them feel their glutes and their hamstrings? Okay. Well, do you have an answer?
No.
Oh, I thought you were saying
no, I was waiting on you.
This is where I'm going to take a band, right?
Yep.
I'm going to do banded hip thrusts, or something where I can isolate the glutes and the hamstrings, make you go into like the top of a glute bridge and just hold it, squeeze, 20-second hold. You're going to feel it eventually, or your back will start to hurt because you're holding yourself up with the wrong muscles. Right. So I can right away find out. And then just by manipulating your feet, I can take the pressure off your back, feel it back in the glutes and hamstrings, and have you keep holding it. Isometrics are some of the best ways for us to connect to the muscle that we can't feel during an exercise. And this is what I consider as priming I always want to prime the important muscles for the lift. So in a deadlift, people sit all day, hamstrings and glutes. Lack of better terms, they go to sleep. I know people use like sleepy glutes is not like a real thing. But the concept behind it is that you can't call on those glutes to do what you want them to do when you want them to do it.
Right.
Then your back starts to hurt. So isolating the muscle, isometrics, holding, squeezing, light reps, high volume, you'll start to feel it. Then when you go back to your deadlift, you can't not feel your hamstrings and your glutes. And now you go to do it. You're like, whoa, there's my glutes. Excellent way to take an advanced method and actually apply it even to the beginner.
Mm-hmm. So you were talking about bands, other modalities that we can use, and we'll talk about bands here in a second. You can use chains. What are some other things that we can use, Kyle, that may be, past the dumbbells and barbells and things like that?
Well, so the two biggest ones for me are going to be bands and chains. Something you maybe don't see in a normal weight room, but if you look at any kind of sports athletic facility, and most like rogue racks, even in like CrossFit gyms now, are starting to come with the pegs on the bottom feet for the squat rack so that you can attach bands to them. But walk into any university, they are all doing banded squats. Now, why incorporate a band into your lift? In a lift, there's always this strength curve. You start the exercise and it's usually at its easiest. You get to the end range of the exercise and it's the hardest. And then you come back to the starting point where it's the easiest again. So for instance, in a back squat, you take the bar out of the rack. It's nothing. I'm standing up. I can hold that there all day.
Yeah.
I drop to the bottom of the squat and then I get stuck there and I can't get out of the hole. Same weight, but way harder at the bottom. If you attach a band to each side of the barbell, at the very bottom, the band doesn't do anything. So that 100-pound barbell on your back is still a 100-pound barbell.
Yep.
As you stand up and the elastic starts to stretch, it starts to add resistance at the top. So now maybe at the top, it's 200 pounds, but at the bottom, it's 100 pounds. This is going to create some speed to get out of the hole, get you faster, get you stronger. I mean, bands are my absolute favorite. And chains are basically the same concept, is that as you lower down, the links of the chains sit on the ground, so they get lighter. And then as you come off the ground, the chains are now hanging from the barbell.
So what you're describing is resistance. What about using bands for assistance?
Oh, what a great question, Dayton.
So you can do it with like pull-ups or dips. You can use it with bench press, squatting, deadlifting, all that good stuff to help you from the bottom of the exercise up so that the heaviest portion is now at the top as opposed to the opposite. Yeah,
exactly. So now I use the bands for the strength curve to make the easiest part of the lift the hardest so that it's just damn near hard from beginning to end, right? So that's the purpose of that.
Yep.
A band for assistance is going to make the hardest part of the exercise easier. So you mentioned pull-ups. Now, if I put a band on a pull-up bar and I put my feet in it, where's the hardest part of the pull-up if I don't have a band?
The bottom.
The bottom.
Pulling.
If I have a band giving me assistance, where's the easiest part of the pull-up?
The bottom.
The bottom. So this is where I see a flaw here, is a lot of people want to get into pull-ups, so they use the band assisted. And now you can see them. Oh, look, I'm all the way at the bottom. I'm all the way at the top. I've done a pull-up. Now, I'm talking to trainers. This is great for your clients to walk away feeling good about themselves. They were able to do a pull-up. They have never been able to do a pull-up.
Yeah.
Encourage that. Cheer them on. Congratulations, your client did a pull-up. Now, hey, trainer, you're not getting them better at pull-ups. So this is where I kind of, yes, I do some assisted pull-ups with my clients to get them feeling good, a little grip strength, get them feeling what it's like to do a pull-up.
Yep.
But they will never have the strength to get out of the bottom of the hole if you keep doing the banded pull-ups.
Yeah.
So what I've learned is I've had clients for years training banded pull-ups before I had to realize that the banded pull-up was what was keeping them from ever getting their actual pull-up.
Yeah.
So you have to progress past that very soon after they got that yay, I'm doing pull-ups now. Okay, next.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Is there a benefit to doing it? And I think you hit the nail on the head right there, is that yes, there is a benefit of doing it. Your client is doing the movement. Are they getting better at the movement? I don't know the answer to that. Like I would say yes in terms of like neuromuscularly and understanding how to like use their joints. Maybe not in terms of the correct muscles to use, because at the top they're probably just yanking themselves up with their biceps, or they're using the band to skyrocket out of the hole and then they're just bouncing on like
The
the band.
trampoline.
Yeah, it's a trampoline, and like yeah, it looks fun and everything like that, but I think there is some benefit to it, even if it's just like in their mind, like, yeah, I did a pull up, cool. Like, but there are, I think, some better ways to teach pull ups. It's kind of the same thing as that silly dip and pull up machine that you put your knees on, you know, or the pin loaded one from, I think, Nautilus and Matrix make them. And then there's a wee going up and down.
So I actually like those more
Okay.
so than the band because it's constant resistance.
All
So
right.
those machines, at least, if you weigh 200 pounds, I could put 20 pounds on it. Now I weigh 180 pounds at the bottom, but I also weigh 180 pounds at the top.
Okay.
Whereas when I put the band on, I weigh 100 pounds at the bottom and 80 pounds at the top. So it's like I never get the experience at the bottom. But at least with that, I can put exactly how much effort to dig out of the hole.
Right.
But what I was going to say is you said something really great there. Once you progress past the banded pull-up, there is one way of doing pull-ups that I really like for that beginner is jumping pull-ups. Now, why jumping? Can you guess where I'm at here?
Are you more so looking for the eccentric coming back down in the bottom? So you jump up and you grab it, and then you try to instruct them to go a little bit slower down. Yeah. And I've read a lot of research that more often than not, people are teaching the eccentric part of it, and that will increase their strength. But then you see the flip side where everybody's like, no, banded pull-ups. And it's like, no, eccentric. So yes, I can see the benefit of doing that.
I love that that's a debate, because I would like to find the person that wants to debate me on that, because I'll do this for a whole hour. We could turn this episode to the pull-up episode.
I would love to take two completely like similar untrained individuals, like same age group and blah, 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 and see if you can do like a 12-week cycle of eccentric and then also banded, and see who can do more after that.
And I will put my money where my mouth is. And if you and I could go find two people that are interested that can't do pull-ups and don't have like strength training, that you could train them that way, and then I'll train mine, and we can regroup in 12 weeks. We can have a little pull-up challenge.
It would be interesting to see. I'm not saying that one is more beneficial than the other for certain things. I think that they both have their space, but who would be able to ultimate at the end to do the most amount of pull-ups, if any? Like maybe the band, like you just can't.
Yeah.
But then the resistant one, you're like, doop, 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 doop.
Yep, exactly. So this is where I would challenge trainers, is to think about where in a workout do you get stronger? Muscle breakdown happens in the eccentric. So if I have a bicep curl, when I'm flexing my biceps contracted. So all those, all the muscle fibers are already in a shortened position. They're tighter. They're, compact. When I stretch my arm out, it rips the muscle apart. And that's where I start to have some of that breakdown in the muscle. So if I actually jump up to the top of a pull-up, holding myself up at the top of a pull-up, and I go to a really slow negative, actually at the bottom, I'm getting the most strength out of the lift down here with my body weight slowly hanging to the bottom. With the band, even if I do a slow negative, I never allow my body weight to go into the negative portion of the pull-up. So I am always losing out on strength at the bottom. Whereas if I jump up to the top, no, I didn't pull myself up, so I didn't get the pull-up part, but I got the full range of motion in the part of the muscle that matters most.
Yeah.
And if you've never done these before and you have someone that is trying to learn pull-ups, you don't even necessarily have to jump if they're a little not jumpable, but put a box, stand on the box.
Yeah. Come on.
Get your chin over the bar, and then 3 5-second negatives. 1, 2, 3, down.
Well, you said something that I want to hit on: full range of motion. we have to get people doing a full range of motion, even if they don't have the capability alone without assistance to do
Joel
full.
Seaman's an asshole.
I
Sorry.
wasn't gonna say it, but yeah, ridiculous. You have to get people doing full range of motion. So if someone comes to you and they can't even do a body weight squat at full range of motion, I see full range of motion, just get your hips parallel. I don't need you to go ass to grass. Just get it parallel for me. That's fine. And you can't do it just on your own. We have to find a modality that you can, whether that be a sit to stand, whether that be a TRX using bands, whatever the heck that it might be. You've got to do full range of motion for me, because that's going to get not only your muscles, like Kyle said, to be active and tearing so that they can repair themselves, but it also speaks volumes to your joints too. You're putting synovial fluid into your joints. Your joints are meant to move at full range of motion. And if you always put them into full range of motion, then you're going to feel better, not like half reps and things like that.
Yeah. When do injuries occur?
When your joints don't move properly or in the right pattern and position.
Mm-hmm.
So
here's the thing is, like, you see this all the time in athletics. And I ranked on Seidman just a second ago because he trains professional athletes. And he's known for this 90 degree squat, 90 degree press. And in athletics, that actually is an okay way to train if you are just in like a sport performance, like explosive sport. If LeBron James started squatting ass to grass, he absolutely would lose some of his ability to dunk. There's no doubt about it. But we don't talk about, I'm not training LeBron James. That's just, we train average old folks.
If we were, this podcast would be doing a lot better than it is right now. Oh god,
LeBron James is coach,
Yeah, tag LeBron in the show notes.
Yeah, share that one. I don't even know where I was going now.
Strength. If he was going ass to
grass.
Oh yeah,
no. If you messed up his mechanics now, it would screw up his whole sport. So when you get athletics, if you had 9-year-old LeBron James never squatted ass to grass before, became an excellent basketball player, I'm not going to mess with that. But when you take Gen Pop off the street, I'm going to start you from the beginning, and I need you to get in that full range of motion, because that's where, like I was getting at, actually, was end range of motion is where injuries happen. When you are really strong, you ever hear the power lifter that can lift 600-pound deadlift but blew his back out picking up a pencil?
Yeah, it happens.
Because they twisted, they bent over and reached behind them. They don't train rotational movement. They train so much in the frontal and sagittal planes that when they put their body out of position, all that muscle and all that force went into the weak spot of the body and just cranked it. Yeah. So if you want to not blow your back out picking up a pencil, you got to make sure you do a full range of motion. It's just that simple.
And putting everybody into those ranges of motion in the different planes is good too. You have to make sure that you're training, what is it, frontal, sagittal, transverse?
Yep.
Are those the three? Okay.
Yep.
And making sure that we get those. Like, my clients will always do a rotate. They'll always do some sort of hinge. You got to have them do some lateral stuff too. I mean, it's so important, because daily life is not one plane of motion. So you have to train all of those in order not to get injured. And the injured exerciser is the worst exerciser, because you're not going to be able to see that person. You're going to put weight on, all that good stuff. So training those things in each plane, important. Please do that.
Yeah, I think rotation is the one that we all skip, because you get really into squats, bench, deadlift, this, that, the other thing. What are some of your favorite rotational exercises?
So I'll always do like trunk rotations with my clients as part of a warm up. Doing even Russian twists. They're not my favorite exercise, but get somebody on their butt, like moving with their hips kind of still. So they're trying to get that lumbar spine to move. I don't do it very often. Let's see what else is
Russian twists are one of those bastardized movements that every like hit coach uses in circuits.
No.
And I feel like they just do that like sloppy flop back and forth thing.
Lightweight, try to reach and touch, and then come back to the center and do the same thing on the other side. I'm not trying to do like, you have to move your chest and your torso. Don't just move your arms side to side, like rotate. I do like rotational med ball slams, med ball tosses and throws and things like that.
I like, yeah. So trainers, an exercise that you have a client that needs you for, right? I like those
right.
throws
Yeah.
where I'm
Yep.
involved.
Exactly.
Can't do them without me.
Other than that, I think that using the landmine is good for rotational exercises too.
That's what my absolute favorite piece of equipment in the gym.
Yeah. Just the side to side, like make
rainbows.
sure that you're moving. You can also do, I don't know what the exercise is called, but you face this way, you grab it, and then you switch hands like mid-air and you do the press. I don't know what it's called. And no, I don't have any clients that do that, but I think that that is a higher end skill with the landmine. The landmine is great with that. But as much as rotation is good, I think anti-rotation is just as important, like trying to have your body be stable in space. Like that's what the main function of your spine is. It's a stability joint. You got to remember your spine is a joint. It's got joints all along the bottom all the way to the top. So joints are supposed to be stable. That's the main function. So training, side planks, bird dogs, farmers carries, overhead farmers carries, and yes, you will get stability when you're doing squats and deadlifts and bench press and all that good stuff. But associating it day-to-day life is good too. Like carrying your purse. Here's a 15-pound kettlebell. Like go walk and then come back. Like that. Functional exercise. That's my most hated term in fitness is functional exercise, because you can say, oh, this is functional. Well, it's all functional.
Yeah, so somewhere along the way, we talked about like bicep curls were so bad, and you have to do squats and deadlifts and bench presses and rows and pull-ups. And then all of a sudden, everyone had tendonitis.
I never do bicep curls, never. And I don't have big biceps, but I do a lot of pulls. That's what I do. I don't
gotta do the biceps for the elbow health, man.
I did bicep curls yesterday because my body just felt like garbage. I went down to Jersey and back, and when I came home, it took me almost 5.5 hours because there was a lot of flooding in New York, and it made me go like all the way around New York City, and my body was just shot. So I did like the most randomized workout ever, and I did some bicep curls, and I was like, I forgot how much I hated these. I don't do bicep curls.
All right. Well, with that note,
you've got bigger arms than me, so I guess I should listen to you.
Yeah, that's because we do bodybuilding around here.
Flex on them.
I don't like the lighting. It's not doing very well for my arms here. So now that this episode's slowly getting lost in the weeds here,
yeah,
we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. I feel like we rambled a little bit in the beginning there.
That's
trying
all right.
to recap. Second half of that, I think we really did dive into some really important key terms there. So
yep,
I'm good with that.
I'm good too, man.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, y'all.
See you, everybody.
See you next week.